Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Quimper Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, located in beautiful Port Townsend, Washington. We're so glad you're here today. Before we get started, let's take just a moment to take a breath or two and bring ourselves fully into this moment, letting go of distractions or worries about the future. Please join me. Now, in a moment, we'll be lighting our chalice. So I want to encourage you to, if you haven't got it already, go get that candle and set of matches so that you can light your chalice as we light ours. And in this way, we will be together. Pat Rodgers will now lead us in the singing of Spirit of Life.
Let's sing Spirit of Life by Carolyn McDade. And because we like the song so much, let's sing it twice. Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea. The shape of justice, roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Our chalice lighting words are by Eric Heller Wagner. Blessed is the fire that burns deep in the soul. It is the flame of the human spirit touched into being by the mystery of life. It is the fire of reason, the fire of compassion, the fire of community, the fire of justice, the fire of faith. It is the fire of love burning deep in the human heart, the divine glow in every life. Thank you, Julie. Our opening words this morning are from my colleague, Ashley Horan. I share them because she offers us reminders of life's deeper truths. Please allow them to sink in. You are loved beyond belief. You are enough. You are precious. Your work and your life matter. And you are not alone. You are part of a we, a great cloud of witnesses, living and dead, who have insisted that this beautiful, broken world of ours is a blessing worthy of both deep gratitude and fierce protection. Our ancestors and our descendants are beckoning us, compelling us onward towards greater connection, greater compassion, greater commitment to one another and to the earth. Together, we are resilient and resourceful enough to say yes to that call, to make our life's work in 1,000 different ways, knowing that we can do no other than bind ourselves more tightly together and throw ourselves into the holy work of showing up again and again to be part of building that world of which we dream, but which we have not yet seen. I'm so glad you're with us this morning. It is important for us to be together. And now I invite you to sit back, get comfortable, and listen to the story for all ages by our Beau Ohlgren.
Good morning, everyone. Today, we're talking about resilience and change. And when I think about resilience, I always think about emotional resilience, or how we respond personally and emotionally to the big changes and adaptations and stresses we go through as people. And to that end, I wanted to share this story about a little girl named Sophie, who gets really, really angry, and how she uses her coping skills and what she does to help her come back to a place of peace. So this is when Sophie gets angry, really, really angry. Sophie was busy playing when her sister grabbed Gorilla. "No," said Sophie. "Yes," said her mother. "It is her turn now, Sophie." As her sister snatched Gorilla, Sophie fell over the truck. Oh, Sophie is angry now. She kicks, she screams, she wants to smash the world to smithereens. She roars a red, red roar. Sophie is a volcano, ready to explode. And when Sophie gets angry, really, really angry, she runs. She runs and runs and runs until she can't run anymore. And then, for a little while, she cries. And now she sees the rocks, the trees and the ferns, and she even hears a bird. She comes to the old beech tree, and she climbs. She feels the breeze blow her hair. She watches the water and the waves. The wide world comforts her. Sophie feels better now, and she climbs back down and heads for home. The house is warm and it smells good. Everyone is glad that she is home. everything is back together again. And Sophie isn't angry anymore. I know that I feel like Sophie sometimes. I get totally overwhelmed, and it's up to us to know what works best for us to help us calm down. For me, like Sophie, I like to go to the water. We live in a fantastic place where we have beautiful natural sights, and that helps me. Unlike Sophie, I don't like to run, but I do like to walk. And like Sophie, sometimes I really want to be alone, and sometimes I really want to be with other people. If we find those things that help us to regulate and help us to find our center again, it makes it a whole lot easier to go through the very big changes that we're going through as a larger society and as individuals. I hope you, like Sophie, find ways to come back together again.
Thank you, Beau, for that wonderful story and for your ministry here. I'm so glad you're still part of this staff. What I'd like to do now is acknowledge and welcome those of you who may be visiting us this morning. If you would mind taking your device out of full screen mode, there's a little square in the corner. I would love it if you would tell us your name and where you're from in our comments section. And I also hope that you'll join us during our virtual coffee hour afterwards. It's remarkably meaningful, and it's a great way to get to know folks here. It's not overwhelming. You get put into a breakout room with a facilitator who makes sure that everybody gets a chance to talk, and there's just not too many. I highly recommend it. Again, welcome. We're so glad you're all here today. I have some announcements for you today, quite a few, in fact, 4 of them, but they're all really important, so pay attention. First, I want to thank all of you who submitted photos for our very first selfie roundup. We received some great images, and I want to thank Doug Rodgers, who was willing to put them together for us in a slideshow. You'll get to see that slideshow later in the service, right after the sermon, so please stay with us the whole time. You don't want to miss seeing faces of the people you love and no doubt miss. And speaking of slideshows, we have another one coming up, and it's for our Blessing of the Animals service. It's going to take place on August 30th. Now, ordinarily, we would invite you to bring your favorite cats, dogs, turtle, fish, etc. to the sanctuary, and we would do a hands-on blessing of your pets. But we can't do that in the midst of a pandemic. So what I'd like to do is invite you to send your animal pictures to Phyllis Waldenberg. She has, her address is in our directory. Her address will also be seen on the screen. So it's good to have a pencil with you when you're watching these services so that you can write down important things. But if you miss it, it will be in the Friday update. I do want to specify, though, we're going to have 2 separate slideshows that day. The first one is for the pets and animals that we love that are currently living. And then after that, we'll be doing a memorial one. So when you send your photos to Phyllis, please make sure you let her know which one of those slideshows to place your photos. Now, the third announcement I have is pretty exciting. As you know, we do an annual book sale here. And we have no idea when we'll be able to be indoors in close proximity like that again. So we're going to do something a little different. Thanks to the ingenious creativity of Kendra Golden, Kate Madsen, and Chris Wilson, we're going to try a pop-up outdoor book sale. We've got it scheduled for Saturday, September 5th, and it's going to be in our front parking lot. So you won't park in the parking lot, you will park outside and then wear a mask. We'll have a hand sanitizing station, and then you'll go through and look at the books going the same direction, sort of like what we do in a grocery store. And you can go around more than once if you'd like, but we're going to ask that people are conscious about staying 6 feet apart. And then when you found the books that you like, we're asking you to just place the money in the donation jars so we don't have to do a lot of touching of money and exchanging of money. So please mark your calendars. It's, again, Saturday, September 5th, unless it rains. Our backup date is Monday, Labor Day, September 7th. Now, you're probably wondering how you can bring your books down here. Well, this is what we're going to do. Again, it wasn't my idea. It was our co-chairs of the book sale. Patrick is going to bring up all the books that we already have here on site. But what you're invited to do is go through your books and find no more than 10 of books that you know will do really well, that will probably sell. And just bring those 10 books in a box and take it to Kendra Golden's house. Again, Kendra's address is in the directory, and we'll also show it for you here on the screen. Now, she doesn't want you to start doing that right away. Please don't bring those books to her any earlier than a week prior to that September 5th date. Now, if this works out well, we hope to be able to do something similar for our rummage sale. But this is a great big experiment. I hope you'll participate so that we can know if this is a viable way to do our fundraisers. Now, I have one more announcement, and it's really important. I'm very excited to share the news with you that we have hired a new half-time person to join our staff. As you'll recall, we added the position of tech support specialist to our budget this year to help us all adapt to today's new technological demands. We were specifically looking for someone who could help us all learn the ins and outs of Zoom, to help us take our ALPS program, that's our adult learning program, completely online, and also our auction. This person would assist with the video editing that we've been doing every week, and to help manage our Zoom room coffee hours on Sunday mornings and other sorts of meetings like that. Now, advertising took place in the Leader and the Peninsula Daily News, and our hiring team settled on someone you may know, Christina Tweed. We're showing you her picture now. You may recognize her. Because Christine has been a member here at QUF for 3 years. She's been in the choir and has been the co-chair of our ALPS program, although she'll be stepping down now that she's on staff. And for those of you who don't yet know her, Christina moved here to Port Townsend from New Orleans about 3 years ago. She did this after moving around several parts of the country in pursuit of a career as a marine mammal trainer. But she decided it was time for a career change, and she settled here to be closer to family, including her mom, Sandy Tweed. Well, today is Christina's very first day, and she's currently behind the scenes right now working with Beau and learning the ins and outs of hosting online worship and coffee hour. So please join me in welcoming her to the QUF staff, which you can do by either writing something now in that comment section, because she's reading those comments, or you can drop her an email. Here is her new email. It's easy. It's tech@quf.org. That's tech, T-E-C-H at QUF.org. Christine, we're really looking forward to working more closely with you and learning from you. That's it for the announcements. It's now time for our offering. I'd like to encourage you to contribute to the building, online programming, and staffing costs of QUF. And if you'd like to do that, you have three options. You can either text the amount that you'd like to give to the number that's now showing on the screen, which, by the way, is the same each week. So if you write it down, you won't have to worry about next week. You'll have it handy. Or you can go to our website, quuuf.org, and simply click on the donate button, or feel free just to pop a check into the mail. And with that, we will now gratefully receive your offering as we listen to Kristin and Otto Smith play the Lydian Waltz. Thank you, Kristin and Otto. It's always so fun to watch you play together. It's now time to share the joys and sorrows of this congregation. We always begin, though, with the recognition that our own joys and sorrows are only a fragment of the joys and sorrows of the larger community of life. So we place this first stone, thinking in particular of the difficulties and uncertainties we are currently facing. The pandemic, the racial reckoning going on, and the stresses associated with the upcoming presidential election. Now, unfortunately, there is a tendency for people to withdraw and grow fearful at such times, which explains in part why the rhetoric of hate, scarcity, and xenophobia are growing right now in this country. But I just want to make note of the fact that we are now less than 100 days from what I think will be the most critical election of our lifetimes. And core Unitarian Universalist values, interdependence, democracy, compassion, and the human worth and dignity of every person, all of our values are on the line right now. So we place this first stone for the bold spiritual imagination and civic participation currently underway with Unitarian Universalists across this country who are trying to UU the vote, so to speak. You should know that that's actually a campaign, and if you would like to join forces with the people of this campaign, here is the web address. It's uua.org/UU the vote. Or you can simply Google UU the vote and you'll learn all about it. Thank you, Julie. And now, within the congregation, on a lighter note, we have a few birthdays to celebrate this week. We light this first candle for Nan Toby Terrell, whose birthday is today. Happy birthday, Nan Toby. We love you and hope you and your pup are having a great day today. Our second birthday candle is for our guest speaker, Julie Plachta, whose birthday is tomorrow. So Julie, you get to light your own birthday candle and accept our wishes for a very special day. And we light a third birthday candle, this one for Nils Peterson, whose birthday is this coming Saturday, August 8th. It's a milestone birthday for Nils, I won't say which one. And he and Joyce had planned a big party down at the Maritime Center to celebrate this milestone, but of course, those plans had to be scrapped due to the pandemic restrictions. But maybe next year, Nils? In any case, happy birthday to you, Nils, and thank you for all you do for us here at QUF and in our wider community. We also have an anniversary to celebrate. Members Susan Stone and Jeff Mather celebrated their 32nd wedding anniversary this past Thursday. You might be interested in knowing that these two met at Jeff's 10-year high school reunion and were married at the Unitarian Church of Los Alamos, New Mexico, 2 years later. They have enjoyed an adventurous life, traveling the world, including living in Fiji for 20 years. Susan and Jeff, we're so glad you found each other and that you landed here at QUF. Happy anniversary, you two. We wish you many more happy years together. I also have a few candles of gratitude to light today. The first one is for our personnel committee, including Linda Spratt, who heads the committee, for developing this new job description and overseeing the hiring of our new tech support specialists, and also, of course, for our hiring team, Doug Rodgers, Gary Nelson, Beau Ohlgren, and Robin Moreau, all of whom put in hours of work interviewing candidates and checking references. Thank you, everyone who made hiring Christina possible. And last but not least, we light a candle of gratitude for Al Thompson, who recently joined our Sunday service video production team and has been helping to film our services. Thank you, Al Thompson, who happens to be here, for this gift and also the gift of your music. The next musical gift, which will be offered on August 30th when Al plays the saxophone for our Blessing of the Animals service. Thank you, Al. And now we place a final stone, thinking of the things I've just mentioned, but also all of those unexpressed joys, sorrows, and rites of passage that you are experiencing. These are of no less importance, and we hold them in our hearts too. And so now I'd like to invite you into a moment of silence and stillness. This will be followed by a musical response by Helen Lauitzen on piano.
Our reading this morning is from Mary Oliver, Wild Geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. We'll now hear a special musical offering by Helen and Kristin.
It is my great honor now to introduce our guest speaker, Julie Plachta. Julie was raised here in Port Townsend and was, in fact, one of the first children to go through the RE program here at QUUF. As a youth, she left town to follow her heart and learn wilderness survival skills in the foothills of the Cascades. So she did leave us for a little while, but came back. Now, while she was training in those survival skills, and to be a teacher of those survival skills, she met a Lakota elder who took her under his wing. And when he moved back home to the Black Hills of South Dakota, he invited Julie to come with her to be a guinea pig of sorts for an apprenticeship program on his land. Now, living in community and being among the Lakota people gave Julie a new understanding of the world and a spiritual foundation that she still carries with her today. You may want to know that Julie is a massage therapist, a wellness advocate, and an educator, in addition to being the mother of her delightful 10-year-old son, who always keeps her on her toes. So in a moment, Julie is going to share with us her thoughts on emotional resiliency. And she's going to provide some ways for us all to help ourselves through this strange and challenging time of adversity. So, Julie, I invite you to come forth and share your story with us. Welcome. Thank you for agreeing to be one of our summer speakers.
Good morning. Things are changing in this world, aren't they? It's strange to be here right now, talking to an empty room about a very broad topic. There's so many different angles I could take today, and I won't be able to cover it all. I wish that I could see you so I could decide what to say based on your needs in this moment. But I'll do my best to provide a message that is both thought-provoking and insightful. These past several months have brought unprecedented changes to many of our lives and a whirlwind of emotions for everyone. We've all endured some major shifts, and we must try to remember to have empathy and compassion for those who cross our path. For some of us, our entire world has been flipped upside down, and we don't know if we'll ever get it back. I'm curious if the recent events have triggered a fear of the unknown in you. And if so, I hear you. I feel you. And you're definitely not alone. Not knowing how this will all unfold is scary. I'm here to suggest that there's hope, though. Hope that we will feel grounded again. Hope that you can overcome the challenges we're facing. And hope for a brighter future, that we can actually thrive in the newness that the global shift is allowing for. In the meantime, the change is uncomfortable, isn't it? The uncertainty, the overwhelm, the mess. Change is never easy, but sometimes it can turn out surprisingly positive in the long run. It's my intention today to offer you some tools to help you adapt to change, to be more resilient, and to manage the stress that you may be experiencing in these unpredictable times. I'll also fill you in on some of my personal story that has led me to this clarity and understanding. If I'm honest with myself, needing to slow down these last few months and doing a lot of wilderness camping has been one of the best things that could have happened to me. My personal circumstances meant that I used several weeks to go on a sort of healing retreat in nature. I've been rediscovering myself and spending much of my time dedicated to managing my own emotional health. I'll share with you more about some of the tools I used to do this in a bit, but I think that my overall capacity to see the silver lining in everything has helped me immensely. I've been able to identify so many gifts that this pandemic is bringing to humanity and not that's not to say that there isn't tragedy. This virus is causing a lot of destruction, division among friends, turmoil, even death. But I can at the same time see beauty in how it is shifting things in the world and in individual lives as well, forcing people to slow down, find joy and meaning in the simplicities of daily life, and finding ways to work towards a brighter future. Despite social distancing and stay-at-home orders, it's also ironically bringing people together in some remarkable ways. Families are forming extended bubbles, and individuals are thinking outside the box to find ways to support each other. Whenever I see an example of this, it really warms my heart and gives me hope for humanity. Turning a tragic event inside out and creating a positive outcome is what we must do with this crisis. It can be difficult, but when we ground ourselves in the present moment and take action on the things that are in our control, we can be productive, and it really feels good not to let our fears take over. I know, easier said than done, right? Let me share a quick memory with you from just this past March. News of the novel coronavirus was just starting to get serious and spread. Grocery store shelves were becoming empty, especially the bulk section of our local co-op and the toilet paper aisles everywhere. I remember laughing out loud when I saw the sign posted stating a limit of 5 toiletry items per trip. 5! My son even found that funny. We laughed as we couldn't imagine walking home carrying 5 giant packages of toilet paper. It was during this time that I received a message from a childhood friend who I hadn't heard from in years. She was stuck at home, unable to travel, and was reaching out to me with concern for her parents and their ability to stay well. She asked if I would consider picking up a few things next time I went to the store and deliver the items to their doorstep. Of course. It delighted me to have a purpose and be given a specific way to help in these times. It was a simple act, but meaningful, and not just for them. With my son along for the ride, he got to witness what we were doing to help protect someone else's health and safety. I'm so thankful that she sent that message. Little did she know that by asking me to do that for her parents, it would have a profound impact on the young child that I am raising. This is what I want him to remember about 2020, that it was the year people slowed down their lives and went out of their way to help others. My mom was around more, and we played and went camping a lot. That would be really nice. There's a lot to be said for having a sense of purpose. When you add to the pandemic situation we're in, the atrocities that are happening in the political and social justice world, and the Black Lives Matter movement, it's no wonder that most of us are feeling despair and having a hard time processing all of the tragedy. There's an incredible amount of injustice in this world, and there always has been. It's coming to the surface now, and perhaps this rising awareness is actually a good thing. Recognizing the problem is the first step towards positive change. If you're feeling called to take action, I encourage you to do so, because having a sense of purpose and being part of a bigger effort can be incredibly therapeutic and change our overall outlook on life. I don't know about you, but when I do something simply to help someone else, it triggers a deep sense of purpose and belonging. Like my existence on the planet matters. It's worth a lifetime of hardship and needing to overcome challenges just to know that even a single person has been affected in a positive way by something I've done or shared with them. When we live with integrity and a genuine desire to help, the smallest act of kindness can change or even save a life. Opportunities to be of service are quite easy to find right now, so seek them out. And if you're one who needs assistance of some sort, know that there are plenty of people who are looking for ways to plug in and feel useful. You'd actually be helping them by reaching out and asking for what you need. The other day, I heard someone reflect on the current times by saying, "The way I see it, we have 2 options, to live happy or die miserable." I couldn't help but chuckle at this remark. It certainly has some truth to it, but there's so much more to that to consider than that. Let me ask you this. Is there such a thing as bad emotions? I think one of the gifts of being human is that we get to experience a wide range of feelings, and here's the thing. It's okay to feel whatever we feel. It has become common practice to judge our less desirable emotions as bad, or even unintentionally shame ourselves or our kids for feeling them. Research shows that when emotions are pushed aside or ignored, they get stronger. Problems can and do arise if we don't acknowledge these so-called negative feelings. When we bury them deep inside and judge ourselves for having the feeling to begin with, it becomes a vicious cycle and can manifest in ways that could really hurt someone. So it's better if we can find a productive way to give witness to that feeling, and then we can let it go more easily. Let's look at our current reality for a moment. I think it's safe to say that we do at least share feelings in common. So next, I'm going to list some emotions that I've recently experienced. And when I name one that you can relate to, notice how you feel and how you're not alone in this turmoil. I invite you to close your eyes and notice any sensations in your body. Here we go. Overwhelm, helplessness, hopelessness, grief, anxiety, depression, fear, anger, despair, loneliness, worry. What do you notice? Is there clenching somewhere in your body? Do you feel nauseous? Are some of these emotions I named easier or harder for you to feel into than others? One of the scarier emotions for many of us is anger. Now, anger is usually a secondary emotion, so it's helpful to ask ourselves, where does this come from? Usually, it's rooted in fear, and fear of the unknown is a popular feeling right now. So much is up in the air. But guess what? We're not alone in that experience. The entire world is going through the stages of this pandemic together, and everyone is confronting all of the chaos and uncertainty that goes with it. For some of us, this is the first time in our lives that we've encountered this extreme level of unpredictability. But for others, as far as our reptilian brains are concerned, we actually have been through something like it before. If you really think about it, this may not be the first time you personally have had to overcome hardship or adjust to a new reality. I'd like to take you on a journey, if I may. My goal is to help you realize that you can navigate the unknown. Take a moment and think about any time in your life that you've been unsure about the future. Maybe it was your first relationship or leaving home when you were young. Have you ever been in survival mode, where all you can do is make it through the day one step at a time, maybe even one breath at a time? Perhaps your car broke down and you couldn't fix it, or you were unemployed for a while. Maybe you suddenly lost housing. Whatever your hard experience was, you made it through that, didn't you? You rose to the occasion and did what needed to be done in the moment to persevere. In the midst of these situations, it can be hard to know what to do. The first step to move through the sensations that these difficult feelings create is simply to recognize the experience you're having. Pause and identify how you feel in the moment. Connect with your emotions and where it manifests in your body, and acknowledge that it is there. This is the opposite of what many of us will do naturally, but it is critical. We must name the feeling. Once it's identified and accepted, you can create a routine to transform it. Now, you might be asking yourself, what does that look like? A routine to transform an emotion? Well, believe me when I say I've been through it all, and I have learned some very powerful tools that I love to share with you. Some of them are hard to explain when we can't interact, but I want you to know that there are easy-to-use, simple-to-learn techniques for creating change in the brain, and they work fast. First, though, I want to share a little background about how I came to understand this topic. My life has been far from emotionally stable and happy, and yet I am grateful for everything that it's taught me. Let me paint a picture for you. Looking back at some of my past, I was molested as a child. I've been raped as an adult. I'm a survivor of domestic violence and so thankful to have gotten out of that relationship when I did, almost 8 years ago now. I've done a tremendous amount of healing and learned so much about myself through the process, but it hasn't been an easy road. Several people I care about have suffered from mental health issues as well, significant enough that their behavior has terrified me at times. I've witnessed some of my closest loved ones experiencing everything from intense mood swings to depression to hallucinations and delirium. I've watched them turn to alcohol and drugs as chosen therapy for periods of time, which has only led to more problems. In some instances, they were lucky to survive. Trying to help a family member navigate the mental health system in this country several years ago was nearly impossible, and certainly one of the biggest challenges of my entire life. What I learned from these experiences is that our society doesn't support mental health. The system is broken, people fall through the cracks all the time, and there is often no real help available for those who need it. They and their families are often on their own to figure it out. Not only that, but statistics say that 1 in 4 children will experience anxiety, stress, or depression during their childhood. Suicide is among the leading cause of death for youth ages 10 to 24. This is something that I believe we can change if we're willing to look at it as a culture. Reflecting on my own youth, there was a particularly challenging period. My parents divorced, and then my brother died suddenly when I was barely 12. He was 23. Though tears were shed, especially in the first days of disbelief after we learned of his death, none of us really grieved effectively until many years later when more family trauma would force the processing to happen. After his death is when I developed my first emotional coping skills. I didn't choose drugs, but my behaviors were far from healthy. One outcome was that I developed a perfectionist streak. That just led to disappointment in myself and worthiness issues. Another strategy was becoming obsessed with being busy, and this is something I still struggle with as an adult from time to time. I've always loved learning and trying new things, so I can easily fill my schedule with things I want to do, but I've realized how incredibly dysfunctional that is, and it usually leads to stress and overwhelm. Constantly being involved and saying yes to everything kept me engaged in something, and therefore distracted me from my feelings, especially those that were easy to judge as bad or wrong. Do any of you relate to the obsession with staying busy? Eventually, I started a conscious practice of being more selective, pausing, and intentionally saying no to new commitments. This seems to be working fairly well most of the time. Twice in my life, I have broken my back, each incident resulting in being laid out for months at a time and depending on others for many of my normal life functions, like going to the bathroom. If this isn't humbling, I don't know what is. But it forced me to slow down. And the hardest thing for me about fracturing my spine was not the physical pain. It was the emotional difficulty that the injuries led to. Being suddenly unable to depend on my body to get me around was a significant emotional challenge. Looking back on that time, I remember feeling like it was hard to see much point in waking up each day because I didn't know if I'd ever walk again. At many different points, the ground has been ripped out from under me, as I'm sure it has you. I've had to start over again and again, not knowing what was going to happen or how I would make it through. In some ways, I guess I'd consider myself lucky right now because at least I have the advantage of knowing that we can make it through tough times, that this too shall pass. The most challenging parts of our lives can lead us down some amazing tracks and create opportunities that we wouldn't otherwise have once we get through them. It turns out my injuries catapulted me down a path in the healing arts, one that I'm forever grateful to be on. And my realizations about how little mental health support there is in this country led me down a path of training and discovery about different approaches we can use to maintain wellness, and I'm passionate about sharing that message now. So I've told you a few of these details of my personal life story, mostly to let you know that you're not alone. The struggle is real. But I'll tell you what, I learned a lot from all of my experiences, and they have shaped my perspective on life today. I have so much gratitude for my healthy body and my capacity to move freely that I don't take a minute of it for granted anymore. And likewise, I do everything I can to stay involved in something that has meaning and gives me a sense of purpose. Thankfully, I've been able to turn my passion for helping people into a career that I love. Since I shared some of my personal struggles with you, you might be wondering what has sustained me through these challenging times. Many things contributed to that, but some major pieces stand out. Time in nature is a big one. Anywhere I can let my feet touch the earth. Laughter. We have to keep laughing, whatever it takes. My spiritual practice, I have my own, of course, but you know what this means to you. It's different for each of us. Fourth Corner Exchange, that's the local currency program here in Port Townsend that's better than barter and a perfect solution for pandemic times. It takes away the dependency on the U.S. economy and is designed to help build community resiliency. This would be a perfect time to activate its full potential. Being of service, which is huge and can take many forms. I spoke to that earlier. Community is super important, even if it's just a few people. We're limited right now in what this can look like, but we must stay connected however we can. And I'll talk about that a little more too. Self-care. Self-care is crucial. What does it look like for you? While I have relied on all of these, I want to focus the rest of my talk on the last two because I want to leave you with some tangible tools that you could use for improving your own well-being. So let's talk about the importance of community. Since we can't get together in person with our communities how we used to, we must find other ways to stay involved and connected with our friends, family, and loved ones. I can honestly say I've had more meaningful phone conversations in the last 5 months than in the past 3 years. I really enjoy connecting deeply with people, and that's not something we have to give up just because we can't see them. In fact, we can see them. I never thought I would say this, but sitting down to a video call with a close friend or family member is actually a very meaningful way to spend an afternoon. I've learned that this is possible, and we can share full-on belly laughs, as well as tender tears, and feel just as present with each other even when we can't reach out and touch. It'll have to do for now. And I will also share this with you. A couple of weeks ago, I was having a hard time and feeling pretty lonely as I had suddenly slacked on my self-care activities, and my friend could hear it in my voice. She offered me a hug verbally, and I could feel it. I felt her tenderness and care 100% over the phone. I was surprised that it was as palpable enough to bring tears to my eyes. So I hope that you give your loved ones virtual hugs right now, at the very least. Stating that intention can have an impact. Use this time for honest reflection. Search inside yourself for your truth, your very own truth. Take inventory of your daily habits and where your time goes. What is really important to you? Prioritize living a healthy lifestyle because fresh air and sunshine are good for us too. Stay safe and stay well. And thank you so much for spending time with me today. I hope that you are able to find relevance in my message and gain insight and ideas for some tangible tools that you might include in your routine moving forward. Let us also remember to listen to one another, have compassion for others and ourselves, and express our love for each other. I'm wishing you all balance in these times, and I know that you can overcome the challenges you face in this intense, extended moment that we are all living through together.
Before we extinguish our chalice, I'd like to remind you that Joseph Bednarik will be leading his annual poetry service next week. I sure hope you can join us. And don't forget to stay online today for our first ever selfie roundup. You're gonna love it. Now, let us join voices for our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment, or the power of transformation. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.